everyone. Welcome to Leathertainment Studio podcast. We are relaunching this video podcast model. I tried, I think, 3 or 4 episodes last summer. It was more of a monologue, but this time I wanted to bring in guests from the industry, leather professional, leather craftsmen, tanners, chemists, you name it. Anybody who is very passionate about leather, even consumers, designers, fashion enthusiasts, anybody can be a guest in this podcast, and we will discuss all about leather. We're going to go into details of very specific subjects in the leather area, leather industry, leather fashion. Whatever you're curious about, we're going to try to find answers from the real experts in the industry. So I don't want to be the one talking about leather to you at all times. I would like to hear and learn from other experts with you all in this weekly podcast. Hopefully every Monday we're going to come up with a new episode to explore the leatherverse together. So in this first episode, my guest is going to be Tanner Leatherstein. You may be asking how, but I think it may be a little bit more clear after my first question, since there's a little bit of a multiple personality situation might be going on here. Some of you may know Tanner Leatherstein is making a lot of videos on social media, cutting up designer bags, trying to see if it's worth it or not, giving you some leather knowledge, and most of the social accounts are getting good response from his audience. And now we will welcome him to the show.
Hey Tanner, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
And let's start with the first question. Is Tanner Leatherstein your real name? It sounds a little bit too good to be true, given what you're doing with it.
Yes, it's not my real name. My actual name is Volkan. It's Turkish for volcano. And I explain it this way. Tanner Leatherstein is my personal brand. And the logic behind it is, if we know when we realize why are we here in this world, what is our purpose to serve to entire universe, and at that time with that knowledge we get to pick our names, that would be the name I would pick to myself. That was about 6-7 years ago. I was sitting in my MBA classroom and thinking about leather and leather brand. I think I was like, oh, that would be a cool leather brand, and I found that domain was available. I got it, and wow, that kind of sounds like a last name too, and Tanner would be a perfect name to complete it. That would be like a personality or personal brand, Tanner Leatherstein. So I come up with that. This was 7-8 years ago, as I said, and I've been keeping it on the side. I started using it 2 years ago when I realized what my real mission is in this world. It was a moment of personal clarity, if you will. And I changed all my social names, everything to Tanner Leatherstein, and I started doing these videos. And now I guess that's how people know me in this space with this work I'm doing it. So that's the story behind it.
My next question is, we know that you're cutting up designer expensive bags, and it's kind of a, non-traditional way of inspecting leather. People don't expect when you start with a Louis Vuitton bag to your social media videos, and as soon as you cut it, in the comments they say sometimes it hurts. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Why are you doing it? How did you come up with the concept?
Why do I cut up these bags? First, over the entire time I get questions from my friends who know my involvement with leather, have been asking me, hey Tanner, I got this, can you check, is it good, is it leather, is it real, did I pay too much? So with all this knowledge, I came to realize that people are not confident when they're leather shopping, or they don't understand completely what they're buying. So trying to get some support from a friend that knows something. And with my experience in the leather space, when I got into consulting after my MBA program, I wanted to get myself a really good leather bag. I'm not a brand person. I've never shopped big brands before that experience, and I checked everything, tried to find myself a good leather briefcase. As a cab driver, I'm going into corporate world. First time, I wanted to have nice things to make good first impression. But I couldn't find that good leather bag I have in mind, knowing what leather can be. Yet the prices was really expensive from those big brands. And it kind of made sense. I put two things together. That's why people question their purchases. Like, they pay a lot of money, but it kind of feels like plastic. That's when 2 years ago, when I found out this personal clarity, I wanted to help people understand leather better and make these videos. I thought cutting up the bags to inspect it first for myself would be a cool idea. About a year and a half ago, I did the first one by getting myself just up on a hunch, just the feeling from a Louis Vuitton store. First time I've been to a Louis Vuitton store, and I did that. We made a long video. It was 30 minutes, still on YouTube. It didn't get the response I was expecting. We've been trying different versions, different concepts of telling this information, again, around leather. And one of the concepts with it go viral on TikTok last August. Since then, we've been getting a lot of requests from people like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that brand? Can you check this bag? And it seems to be working. People appreciate the knowledge we're providing there, and I get to learn a lot. It's fun. So growing a social following, that's why I do it. That's how I come up with the idea.
Next question: where is your leather knowledge is coming from? You're making a lot of judgments, estimates, and guesses around leather, trying to provide people information all about leather. Where is your leather knowledge coming from? What's your history? Can you tell us about your leather journey? How did you get into it?
My father owned a leather tannery in Turkey. I started making leather when I was growing up. I was 10, 11 years old. I was experimenting with leather in the tannery. That was my game. I did my first 5 sheepskins when I was that 11 years old in our tannery laboratory in small drums. I took the rawhides, made them into the leathers, and that turned into a jacket for myself. It was my first leather jacket done by me. So that was a great experience, hooking me into this whole leather chemistry thing. I loved chemistry. It was a fun thing to do for me in the childhood, and I just grew up doing it until I moved to the United States at age 23, around 2009. I stopped doing leather. Until that point, I was all into tanning sheepskins, goat skins, cow hides in different countries. I managed tanneries in Turkey. Then we moved our tannery to Turkmenistan. I ran a tannery there a little bit for about a year. And I did that in Armenia with a partnership in Yerevan for 6 months. Then I moved to the States. And it was a completely new life here. We stopped our tannery work. My dad retired in Turkey. I was a cab driver, truck driver here, setting up a new life. Quit my consulting job where I ended up being in US, figuring out I'm not a corporate world person. I wanted to go back to leather. In 2016-17, I started Pegai, my own brand. I'm self-taught in the leather crafting. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. It started in my spare bedroom in Chicago with my wife. We opened the Etsy shop. I picked the leathers I love from my network, and we got a great response. So Pegai grew into a quite nice small brand at this point for me. It's my full-time job. My brother is running our workshop in Turkey now, in the building which was the tannery that I grew up making leather. And my dad is still guiding us over there with the leather expertise and network. So that's what my leather journey was about, and that's where my knowledge coming from. But again, this is not to say that I know everything about leather. Actually, every day I'm learning how much I don't know and how much I need to learn, talk to new people, to experiment with new leathers, new concepts. So it's just a so deep world, and it's exciting to me.
Now let's get to the personal level a little bit, if you don't mind. Who you are outside of work, where do you live, what do you do when you're not working? Can you give us a little bit more about your personal life so we get to know you a little better?
I live in Dallas. I have a family, very happy family. I have 2 boys, a 2-year-old and a 3.5 years old. I'm always with them. I don't work a lot. It might look like I work a lot as an entrepreneur, but I am 9 to 4 in the workshop 5 days, and I love to go back, pick up my kids with my wife. My wife works with me in the office. She has her own job, but we're working at the same place every day. We go pick up our kids and spend time together, go to bed together, wake up early together. So the rest of the work is all about family. I believe in the balance of life in a big manner. I was a workaholic before I, got married to my wife, and she changed me in an incredibly positive way. That's why I'm very conscious about keeping this balance now. Do that family stuff over the weekends, just socialize with kids, friends, and do house chores. I have kind of little hobbies that I don't get to do much now, but I was like a jack of all trades. I was interested in fixing a lot of things, woodwork, handyman jobs. So I work on house projects outside of leather on the weekends. I love to listen books. I'm very into spiritual learning these days, the meditations and how we can expand our consciousness, reality, manifestation. A lot of these things are um, in my interest area: behavioral science, human psychology. That's what I do in my free time, and that's who I am as a person. I don't have many other things. I don't know sports. I don't understand sports, so I don't watch those things.
All right. So, what is your top advice to our audience who wants to enjoy leather? What is leather? How do they find good leather? How do they experience leather at its best potential?
Quality, luxury, true luxury leather is the artisan leathers, minimally finished, respectfully finished. They have a unique character to it. That's how I enjoy leather at its best potential. That was the leather I was looking for when I was in my consulting position that I couldn't find. Where do you find those things? Small artisan space, local makers, or new upcoming brands. And that's what Pegai is about. I'm trying to provide this thing that I realized was lacking in the market. I find these artisan leathers and trying to apply it into sophisticated craftsmanship. We all love these natural leathers, but sometimes small craftsmen might be lacking the sophisticated skills and techniques that big brands has to put those good leathers into great expressions of leather craft. So that's what I'm trying to do with Pegai. But there's a lot of brands, there's a lot of artisans. They're opening up their own shop. Social media is a great place. You can scout, notice these people. I will feature all these small shops, noteworthy leather makers, so they're in front of everybody. They're findable, so more people can enjoy leather in a lot better, wide variety of options, diversity, versus under the monopoly of 10-15 so-called luxury brand. And you don't need to know anything. It's a leather is a feeling thing. You look at it for imperfections, inconsistencies. If it's too standard, probably it's not that level. And you smell it, you touch it, you get that vibe or energy. You put all those feelings together, and you read your label. If it starts talking about leather, Italian leather, full grain leather, anilines, vegetable tans, all these little keywords that artisan or brand wants to talk about, it says there's something to talk about. Leather in the big brand luxury space, they don't do that much because there's not much to talk about. It says cowhide, cow skin, and that's it. Read your labels. If you detect those things and your feelings match up, and then check the price if you can justify it. That's how you make decisions. You don't need to know anything else about leather, and that's my only advice to the leather user, leather shopper.
Volkan, thank you for being our guest today. That's all my questions. It was a pleasure introducing you or me to our audience, and hopefully we will do it with other fellow leather craftsmen as well.
No, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure introducing myself in this show as the first episode. It's great to be here. Thanks from my side.
Well, hopefully this gave you a little bit more understanding about Tanner, his mindset, his journey, his story, background about leather, and why is he doing this. This was about getting to know each other a little bit more and to give you an expectation of what this video podcast will look like in the future episodes. Every Monday, I want to publish a new episode featuring professional, discussing all aspects of leather. Please give me your comments, feedback into the comments, or by emailing me at tanner@pegai.com. We will take a note of every request from us, and we will start prioritizing the most requested questions and topics and discover this leatherverse together, 1 week at a time, one leather professional at a time. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Wherever you watched or listened to this, don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, my channels, and stay tuned and keep leathertaining. Thank you.